Hello and welcome to this segment of Citizens Forum being filmed on Tuesday, July the 7th. Our guest in this segment is Paul Stein. Paul is a social change artist, and we're going to be talking about the way the media plays a role in controlling or influencing our thoughts, the way the media influences our thinking.
Yeah, that's right. So you mentioned social change artist.
Yes.
A good mentor of mine, his name is Dennis Schul. He recently passed away, and he mentioned that to me many times, and it rang true to me big time because, excuse me here, I'm getting a little emotional.
Yeah,
the big thing about social change artistry is doing. So if you're a doer, you're changing the world. You're making it happen. So I acknowledge you, Jack, for what you do and what you bring, the leadership you bring, this forum that you bring. It's powerful stuff. So keep it up. I really encourage you.
Thank you very much.
It's inspirational, man. I love it. So yeah, that's the social change artist. He mentioned that to me, and it kind of rang. It stuck. And I look at what I do. I'm an activist in Victoria, and I just love working with people, helping with people, exploring life, exploring the possibilities that are out there. Because it seems to me that the media likes to limit our thinking. It likes to puts us in a box. And then with that limitation, you can't fully expand your mind and create the possibilities. You're a perfect example of that. How the media doesn't control your mind. You control your thoughts, and in that, you create the reactions which create the reality of this studio with the lights, the set, the crew, the people that want to be with you, working with you, because you're a visionary. You're also a social change artist. That's the truth. And when you're positively thinking about what you want to create, you don't have time for the negative downside, which is what I believe the mainstream media and a lot of the alternative media, both on the left and right, kind of put us in. They put us in this kind of negative mental thought pattern. And these habits, as I said earlier, habits are not good or bad. Smoking cigarettes is bad. It's a habit. Running every morning is a good habit. Habits are automated processes, so they're not good or bad. However, when we get an input from the media, from the politicians, from the outside influencers in our mind, and we keep on thinking these repetitious thoughts, we hold them as our own, as if we thought about them, as if they're ours. And a lot of people say they have an opinion, but I would disagree. I think they hold opinions because it seems like there's so much information bombarding our brain that every now and then we're changing and we've got new information, new opinions. So that's what I say about the mind. The way you think controls your reality, which creates the future around you. So Dennis Schul was a big motivator of mine. He was a positive man, and he led the way in his leadership, showed me how to lead positively in the way you speak, the way you act. And I think it makes a difference.
Just explain in a sort of concrete way what you mean by what you've just said, just taking a specific example.
Like a specific topic?
Well, yeah, take the way how the media puts thoughts and structures into our mind about either everything about our lives or just about a certain specific thing within our life.
Well, for example, take this new Bill C-51 that everybody's talking about now. It's restricting our lives. And I might mention there's a lot of bills and a lot of laws that are being enacted, and none of them are expanding our rights. They're all diminishing our rights, which is what I find very important. With that communication, however, it's all about taking our rights away. And if you constantly talk about how your rights are being taken away, guess what happens? You create that, you manifest that. On the news, there's a lot of, I don't pay attention to the news, but a lot of news is about police brutality, a lot of riots. I know police officers here in Victoria, and they're not so bad guys. There's good guys and bad guys in every group. But the majority of people that I talk to don't like the police. And it's not because they've had personal first-hand experiences with the police. In fact, they don't know any of them firsthand, but rather they take the information that they get online and in the news reports, the short little blurbs, and they're throwing Molotov cocktails. They've got an agenda behind what they talk about. So therefore, most people have these ideas about the police. And in my opinion, that divide and conquer between the police And the people is what separates and makes a difference between a police state and a cooperative democracy. Because the truth is that the police are the front line that make or break and hold the rule of law. And if I come to the police with a negative attitude, as if, F the police, screw the police, they're all, brutal, then in my opinion, you're going to get that. And I've seen that firsthand. When a police approaches me for whatever reason, I'm not on the defensive. So that's one example of how the media portrays an image of something that people have no clue about, really. So I've run into some bad cops, and I've run into some awesome police officers that really care. So it's all about your personal experience, and your personal experience is the truth for you. However, there's a lot of people online. There's the information world, the internet. There's so much information out there. At what point does too much information become toxic to the mind, where you're no longer living? And you said earlier in our conversation that we got to go back to nature. And I agree with that. We got to kind of take a step back, because too much of this information era can be toxic to our mind because there's too much to know. Whereas what's happening in my life, what's happening in the relationships that I hold in my life, the 4 or 5 people that I care about, that's really what matters. Not what matters on the other side going on in some town somewhere. Even though it is a global village we live in, the most important thing is the relationship I have with the people around me. That's what's really core. And that's what I think this globalization/internet world is kind of doing to people. It's pulling us away from our community and pulling us online into the global market of problems and chaos. And if you get stuck there, it's a negative place. So what I say to most people is, what's your return on your investment? I like business. I like entrepreneurship. And so I noticed when I first got into activism, a lot of the stuff I talked about was bad. It was negative. It was downer. It was fight this. Do you know about this? Do you know how they're stripping your rights? What I noticed was that there wasn't a lot of people wanting to hang around me. There wasn't a lot of people that wanted to engage in me. The conversations I had were negative. They were toxic almost, And I almost was repelling people, like Scotchgard repels water. And I noticed that when I started changing the way I speak to people, and a big realization for me was, if you can't change the world, change the way you see the world. I kind of applied that thought, and I implemented it in my life, and I noticed that I start to attract people. And you start to attract conversations, because I'm not blaming, I'm not finding fault, I'm not Mr. Negative. So again, the media, it pumps all of these negative emotions into us as if we have to own them. And then we take them on, and what does that do? It burdens us. It creates stress in our bodies. We can't sleep, we can't eat, we get ill. And then we start making a bunch of hypotheses why we're sick. When the reality is, I believe, and this is a Brian Tracy statement, that what revolves in your mind becomes your reality. What you think about most of the time becomes true, because it all starts with a thought into a word. You write it down, it becomes real, and then it's here. So that's kind of my philosophical view of how the media does a very good job with the politicians to implant little seeds into our mind. We got to fight this, fight the global war, fight this, fight that. Why are we fighting? I'm a peace-loving man. I don't want to fight. I want to create. I want to create beauty. I want to create opportunity and possibility. Fighting and destroying is not what I'm doing, even though I'm not even aware of it. I'm holding a banner, fight this, fight that, fight the New World Order. Wait a second, I'm about peace and love, not fighting. So even that context of fighting back is so subliminal that we don't even realize what we're doing.
So what are some of the issues that are just most important to you over the years or most recently? And how do you get involved with them?
Probably the biggest one that I'm involved in right now is I create a TV show. I'm a creative producer for Freedom Free for All TV. It's been on this public access television show. Right now we're taking a little... Anyways, forgive me, I'm imperfect. Anyways, so we have a little TV show, and it's kind of like, we do the same thing you do. You inspired me to kind of create it. I work with the team. We've been doing that on live stream. That's really powerful, passionate. We talk about what we want to talk about, bring information out to the world. That's one little piece. Another piece is I belong to a men's team in Victoria. And again, like I said earlier, it's about creating relationships with people, because that's all you have. And your word is, how do you say it? In my opinion, your word and your integrity, what you say, is the currency that matters to me the most. Money doesn't matter, because you can pay off a lie, you can pay off a bribe, but the reality is that with me in a relationship, your word and how you say and how you carry yourself, in my opinion, is your currency. And I've learned this through the men's team that I belong to. A lot of memes, technologies, things that actually point back to me. They say for every time you point, there's 3 pointing back at you. And I find that a lot of people they blame, they find fault. My mentor, Dennis, said, Paul, don't find fault. It's already been faulted. Why find fault again? What's the point, right? And I thought about it. Well, I want to get the better of them. Well, who's speaking? It's my ego, right? So really, I've learned that, kind of looking back inward, reflecting back inward. If someone's raging at me, it's like, why are they raging at me? What am I doing to create the world around me, right? I hear that all the time. So those are the two things that I've been really passionate about as of late, and just exploring what's possible, speaking with like-minded individuals, and making possibilities happen for other people. Because to me, it's when someone opens up their eyes and has an aha moment, it's the greatest joy I can give someone. So,
going back to the back to nature thing that we briefly mentioned. I often am lucky enough to go through a couple of parks in Victoria, and what I notice most about them is it's a completely different time frame than the industrial world we live in. And yeah, we live in an industrial world. To me, that industrial world is completely out of control now. It's way too much. But if we go into just a beautiful natural setting and just watch the quiet and the speed at which nature moves, and just the way even the tall grasses move in the breeze, I mean, I think we all need a little bit of that sometime. And
yeah. Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. And good thing we're preserving that. And I think it's a good thing that we have that ability to still maintain it.
And we're at a time.
Wow, that was quick, Jack.
That was quick. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you for everything you do, man, and your inspiration to me. I acknowledge you for your leadership.
I'm blushing. So thanks for watching this segment of Citizens Forum.